Today I'm going to be going over your homework on exponents. So you received this assignment yesterday. You should have it out. If you don't, go ahead and find that, get that out. I'm going to go through it and I'd like you to just kind of like check over your answers. If you miss something, go ahead and change it so that you have the correct answer. This is more like I just want to make sure that you guys are kind of understanding what mistakes you're making. And then the worksheet will be collected after we review through each of the answers. So for the first one, it says write 8 to the 5th in expanded form. Remember that expanded form just means we're writing it out as a longer expression. We're not actually solving 8 to the 5th power, at least not yet. So writing it in expanded form, since 8 is my base and then 5 is my exponent, it's just telling me that I'm multiplying 8 by itself 5 times. So 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. So you should have 5 8s that are multiplied together. So for number 2, it wants to know what's the actual value. So this time we're actually solving it using a calculator. So in your calculator, you're going to do 5 to the power of 5. Or 8 to the power of 5. So to do that, you're going to put it in, type in 8, and then you're going to use that caret button that's above the squared button. It looks like a little up arrow, and then you'll put 5, and then you should get the answer. If you're unsure how to do that, you can always put in the expanded version too, where you just put in 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, and it'll give you the correct answer as well. So you should have got 32,768. Okay, so if you did not get that answer, whenever I'm back, have me come over with a calculator and just show you how you're supposed to put it in, because there should be no reason that you get problems like that wrong, because it just means you don't know how to use the calculator. Okay. Number 3, we're writing the expanded form of m to the 3rd. So m is our base. We have an exponent of 3, so we're going to multiply m by itself 3 times. Okay, for number 4, it wants us to write the expanded form of n to the negative 3rd. Remember, we have special rules whenever we have negatives. When we have negatives, it's going to inverse the n, or the base. So we're going to have 1 over n, and instead of negative 3, we're going to have positive 3. So we fixed that, but then it wants us to expand. So we're going to have 1 over, and then n to the 3rd means I'm going to have 3 n's that are multiplied together on the bottom. So if you didn't have the completely expanded form, make sure you add that to your worksheet. For number 5, what would be the value of 12 squared? So putting this just in the calculator, because it just wants to know the value, you're going to type in 12, and then you can hit the squared button, which is the X with the little 2 next to it. It's right next to the 7 button. So when you put that in, it should have been 144. You could have also just written in the expanded form too, which would be 12 times 12. For number 6, what would be the value of negative 4 squared? So when you're putting this in your calculator, you do want to make sure you're putting parentheses. So parentheses, negative 4. Remember that you do need to hit the negative button, not the minus button. The negative button can be found at the bottom of the calculator next to the decimal point. So then I would do parentheses, negative 4, parentheses, and then hit the squared button, which is that X with the little squared. And you should have gotten 16. And again, you could have written in the expanded version. So negative 4 times negative 4 will get you positive 16. And then number 7, what would be the value of the square root of 81? So for this one, again, in your calculator, to do the square root, remember we do second and then the x squared button that has the little square root above, kind of in that blue color. So second square root and then 81, and you should have got 9. And again, if you were unable to get that, please let me know whenever I'm here and I can show you on the calculator how to get the correct answer. For number 8, which expression would correctly solve for x in the following equation? So we have x squared is equal to 225. So remember, when we want to get x by itself and it's being squared, we have to do the opposite of squared, which is the square root. So we would take the square root of each side. So we'd have x is equal to the square root of 225. So the correct answer is C. And then for number 9, and sometimes students miss this one, so you might not have answered number 9, so make sure that you do answer it. What would be the value of x on the previous problem? So it wants us to actually solve what would be the answer for x. So we would take the square root of 225, so again, second, and then square root on your calculator, and then 225, and you should have gotten 15, so x is equal to 15. Number 10, similar to question 8, which expression would solve for v in the following equation? So v is being squared, which means we need to take the square root of both sides. So v would be equal to square root of 64. So then putting that into our calculator, again, second, square root, and then 64, you should have gotten 8 for v. On the back, it wants you to simplify each of the following expressions. So you're not solving, you're just combining in order to simplify the equation. So we're using those rules. When we're multiplying, we add the exponents. Whenever we're dividing, we subtract exponents. Okay, so for this first one, I am multiplying. My base is 8, so I'm going to keep that. And then I'm going to be adding my exponents. So 8 plus 6. So my simplified version would be 8 to the 14th power. For the next one, again, I'm multiplying, so we're just going to add the exponents. Notice, though, that one of my exponents is negative. So I'm going to have m as my base, 3 plus negative 1. So this really is kind of subtracting. So I will get m to the second power. Okay, for number 3, I am dividing, so I'm going to subtract. Remember, it is top minus bottom. So I have 5 is my base, and then 2 minus 5 will give me 5 to the negative third, but generally we don't like to leave it as the negative exponent. So remember, we're going to reciprocate it. So put the base over 1 or under 1. And then instead of negative 3, it's going to be positive 3. All right, and then lastly, we kind of have 2 steps that are happening because we have multiplication on top and then we do have division as well. So I like to take care of the multiplication at the top by combining my x cubed times x squared. So I'm going to have x3 plus 2, which is x to the 5th on top. And then I'm just going to keep what I had down here, so x to the 4th. Now I can subtract. So remember, it's top minus bottom. So I'm going to have x and then 5 minus 4. So I'm going to have x to the first, which is just the same as x as well. So you could have just wrote x instead of x to the first.